Welcome to a meeting of your Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. Representing District 1, Harry Cohen. Representing District 2, Ken Hagan. Representing District 3, Gwen Myers. Representing District 4, Stacy White. Representing District 5, Mariella Smith. Representing District 6, Pat Kemp. Representing District 7, Kimberly Oberman. The County Administrator is Bonnie Wise. The County Attorney is Christine Beck. Time is set aside at the beginning of each meeting for citizens to speak on any issue, so we have time for everyone. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Today's meeting is brought to you with closed captioning by Hillsborough Television.
Good morning. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners regular meeting on August 3rd, 2022 at 9 a.m. I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting and then ask the clerk to do a roll call vote, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Overman?
Yeah, here.
Cohen?
Here.
Hagan?
Here.
Kemp?
Here.
Myers?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
White?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you very much. First, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation offered by our chaplain, Commissioner White. Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask that everyone please stand at this time, and we'll begin with the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, I pray that you will guide this board, our staff, and stakeholders as we make important decisions for this county this morning. As always, I pray for our first responders and members of our armed forces. Pray that you'll keep them safe and guide them each and every day. And I ask for these blessings in your heavenly name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Commissioner White. I appreciate that. We do not have any special recognitions or proclamations scheduled for this morning, which is a rather rare event. But we'll go ahead and proceed with our meeting's agenda. Ms. Wise, would you like to discuss the approval of changes?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We have one item for board consideration pursuant to Rule 13 Rules of Order, item F1 by Commissioner Hagan. This is to direct the County Attorney's Office to bring back to the Board of County Commissioners at a future meeting for the board's consideration a draft amendment to the Northdale Special Dependent Tax Districts Enabling Ordinance to lower the number of required district trustees from 9 to 7 and the number of district trustees required to constitute a quorum. We have several items for time certain. The first one is at 9:30 a.m., item E1. This is to receive the Safe and Sound Hillsborough 21 to 22 operational update by Freddie Barton, Executive Director, Safe and Sound Hillsborough. At 9:45, item G1 is to receive the report on Commercial PACE and Solar Energy Loan Fund SELF programming with special appearances. Item D1 at 10 a.m. is to conduct a public hearing to consider enactment of an ordinance pertaining to the notice period for termination of residential leases without a specific duration and requiring prior notice of certain residential rent increases of more than 5%. Those are the changes to the agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kemp, a second by Commissioner Myers. Please take a roll call vote.
Overman?
Yes.
Cohen?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We have arrived at the public comment section, of which we have 45 minutes set aside for those that would like to comment on anything on the agenda or issues they have they'd like to bring to the board's attention. We value your opinions and in providing input to the board, and it is requested at the same time that you address the board that comments are not directed personally against any commissioner or staff member, but rather at the issues. This provides a mutual respect between the board and the public and allows us to hear your concerns. The board is set aside 45 minutes, as I mentioned, and at the discretion of the chair, the board may again hear public comment at the end of the meeting in the event that we exceed that time frame. Anyone who wishes to speak virtually or in person during the meeting may do so by completing the online public comment form found at hcflgov.net/speakup. The form is open to the public to sign up 48 hours prior to the meeting, and an option is available to notify whether or not you'd like to attend virtually or whether you'd like to attend personally at the meeting. In addition, in-person speakers are able to sign up on site via kiosk or smartphone on the day of the meeting. For participants who wish to speak virtually who have completed the online form, you're provided with an audio number, a number to call in, and after the form is received by the county, and all speakers will be required to provide a name, email, and telephone number for the online form. This information is being requested to facilitate the public comment process. Sign-ups for both virtual and in-person speaking opportunities for public hearings or public comment close at 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting. And I'll call on the speakers in the order of which they came. In addition, if you're speaking on a public hearing item, you'll be called during that time frame to give your comment regarding that public hearing. The boardroom and the multipurpose room are designated for speakers only, and those who come to the county center to watch the meeting and not speak are accommodated in the lobby area. Only the first 35 persons are asked to speak. CDC guidelines strongly recommends that unvaccinated people and people with weakened immune system continue to wear masks. The multipurpose room is available for those residents who signed up to speak after the first 35. That doesn't really apply today because we do have 6 speakers that have signed up to speak on the items today. You'll have 3 minutes to offer your comments. The first 5 speakers that I have on the list are speaking on general items, and then I have 1 speaker that signed up for item D1, that's a public hearing. The first speaker on general items is Devesh, I'm going to mess up that name, I'm so sorry. Nirmal, I believe, is, and he signed up to speak in person.
Okay. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Devesh Nirmal with Counterpoint Sustainable Real Estate, Tampa, Florida. I wanted to indicate my support and the overall industry's support for the CPACE program being reauthorized. Specifically, the value proposition, to property owners and access to the tool to drive more resiliency and sustainability, which we all need to see in our community. This request is, to me personally, I grew up in Hillsborough County. I was passionate about sustainability from my high school through my grad school. I happen to have led Miami-Dade County's Office of Sustainability, Pinellas County IFAS Extension's efforts when they first got into this, First Service Residential, Energy and Sustainability, and I consulted to USAID on its global climate change program before coming back to Florida. I can say with confidence this is a very pragmatic tool, and I did share with the Commission, I should note, a few days back, an email also with some case studies that kind of illustrate what is the marketplace transformation that's taking place. Typically, private property owners have very conservative payback thresholds, less than 2 years. They have often mission-critical allocation for their capital, or split landlord-tenant incentive are some of the things that get in the way of making these investments. PACE cuts right through all of those. And some of the case studies that I brought up actually referenced that. There was a Florida nursing home where they were able to increase the scope of their energy resiliency work 3 times by using PACE, and that way they avoided having to defer some of those improvements out to the future and not cannibalize just the low-hanging fruit. There was a hospital that needed to focus on hiring nurses and medical office investments versus their real estate, which is very energy intensive, and we're able to find $50 million of energy savings and water savings, et cetera, through PACE. How about an office building that went net zero through renewables, process controls, et cetera? However, what really drove the ownership too was the fact that the building's value was able to increase by roughly the amount of the equipment value, $3 million, immediately. And there are some other scenarios as well. So I would encourage the county to reauthorize in a way that syncs up with the state statute. What the state statute did was essentially balance the interests of the property owner, the banks, the PACE local government, and the PACE capital providers in a way that looked at the idea that there's all lender notification throughout the process, and there's lender consent for anything 20% of value or above, or if there's an energy audit that proves that the annual savings is more than what the investment is, the annual PACE assessment, then you can also exceed that threshold. I'm local, happy to be a resource. You know, I want to see this community thrive, and this is a great tool. Happy to answer any technical or detailed questions or policy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker signed up to speak is Brent Anderson, also speaking on G1.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for your time to come speak about commercial PACE, agenda item G1 this morning. My name is Brent Anderson. You all might have seen me up here before. I'm with Y Green Energy Fund. We're the largest PACE provider, and we do residential and commercial PACE in Florida, so we have a vested interest in CPACE coming to Hillsborough County. As an individual born in Florida, this is a very important area to me. I was born in Sarasota, grew up in the Bay Area. I've seen the growth of this community over my time in the area, and it's home to me. Commercial PACE is here to help that smart growth potential in Hillsborough County. Based on census data, there's over 29,000 small businesses, of which 6,000 of those businesses are minority owned in Hillsborough County alone. The CPACE program and Y Green are to help every business in Hillsborough County grow and continue to grow as we move forward. However, extremes like expanding lender consent past what is already established in the state statute really negatively affects these small businesses and these minority-owned businesses from being able to access these funds. Currently, as the last speaker mentioned, lender notification happens within the first 30 days of any finance agreement at CPACE, and any project over 20% of the assessed value already requires lender consent as well in the state of Florida. At Y Green, we're interested in the small and the large. Allowing these businesses access to this types of funding at low interest rates is very important. Choosing the expanded lender consent is allowing the large banks to decide what interest rates these individuals have to borrow money at, and with less competition to keep those interest rates down. Large-scale developments, they're going to be fine. If you're taking out more than $2 million, the bank's going to consent to your loan no matter what, because they need that cheap financing, that low interest rate financing to make those large projects viable. However, it leaves behind those small projects, those small businesses, that small mom and pop shop that AC goes out and they need to keep the AC on to keep business going and funded. This is very important as well, because there could be a situation where an individual only could get our financing to help their business, to help get that AC, to help get that roof. If a bank turns them down or doesn't consent to our form of financing, they could be left to go to high interest credit cards to fix a problem in their business. The Washington Post released an article just today that shows credit card debt increased by $46 billion in our country in the second quarter. That's a very, very large number for people. Am I out of time? Sorry, everyone. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions during the agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Gerald White, who's speaking on item B1. Mr. White, you're recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to see everyone's face. It's been a while since I've seen the whole board, and I just really wanted to come down and say good morning to the board. County Administrator Bunny Wise, outstanding work. Continue the superior work you're doing for the county. Christine Beck for the County Attorney's Office. We're pleased with your service. Your team is just outstanding. And I just want to just say thank you. And of course, my District Commissioner Gwen Myers on your re-election without opposition. That is just a remarkable accomplishment in a county of 1.4 million citizens. So you are to be commended for your work on this board and keeping the county moving forward. And congratulations on your re-election to the County Commission of Hillsborough County, Florida, without opposition. God bless you. I'm here for B1. I want the board to stay the course. There's been a lot of talk out there about revenue coming in, money, tilts flowing. I think it's just temporary. You know how the economy is. Stay the course related to our funding of transportation, funding of our needs, funding of all our CIT projects. Just maintain the course along with all the municipalities in Hillsborough County. I'm pleased that the tax question has been resolved. Commissioner White, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. All the bodies of our democracy came to full fruition. And so your work is to be commended in that respect. But I do have one grievance, Commissioner Hagan. I have one grievance related to sports, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at the CIT, you look at all we've done for the Buccaneer franchise. They are not allowing folks to attend the practice at the training facility. Something has changed. I know there was the COVID and there was a stay away because of the COVID, but now the general population cannot attend the practice. I think you gotta be like a season ticket holder or something's going on that has changed the fundamental relationship with Hillsborough County and the citizens and the Buccaneers. I want this commission to look into that. This has happened on your watch, commissioners, on this board's watch. Look into that. Make sure citizens can attend those practices. That's a fundamental agreement, I think. May not be in writing, but it's in our hearts. We want to attend those practices. You don't have to have a season ticket holder holdings to be able to attend those practices. Look into that, not just for me, not just for Gerald White, but for all the citizens in Hillsborough County, no matter where you live. At least one of those practices should be open to any citizen in this community, all right? We've done a lot for them, and we want to keep it strong. Thank you. God bless you. Good to see everybody. And Madam Chair, good to see you.
Thank you. I
have a great day.
apologize for not being able to be there in person so I could see your smiling face. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
All right. With that, we have two more speakers, general speakers, both coming to speak on G1. Matthew Choi is in person.
My word, that's a difficult act to follow, but I'm going to do my best. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and board members. My name is Matthew Choi. I'm with a company called Renew Financial, and we also offer PACE loans, however, just on the residential side. But I did want to take today just as an opportunity to quickly go over some of the advantages that we have as a residential PACE program. And the first is just to say this, that residential PACE can be a complementary program to your SELF program. Renew Financial understands and appreciates SELF's ability to help low and moderate income families here in Hillsborough County, but we can serve a different population. That way, your constituents can have kind of the full breadth of financial tools available to them to help upgrade and harden their homes. We already work complementary in other municipalities, such as Miami-Dade County and the city of Orlando. Also, I wanted to say I had a wonderful meeting with your tax collector, and one of the things that she expressed to us is that oftentimes homeowners don't know that their tax liability can increase with the value of their home. And one of the creative solutions that we discussed is having our contractors, when they go and discuss our financial tools, sending them to your county website to help them understand that those changes may happen. We very much want to be a long-term partner going forward. Additionally, I was just reading this morning that Florida saw 4 insurance companies that were put into receivership, and another 17 are warned of imminent downgrades. One of the biggest issues we find is that citizens can't find insurance in the private market. In fact, a lot of insurance companies right now are refusing to write new policies. Residential PACE offers those homeowners the ability to put on things like a new roof, one of the main reasons why homeowners can't find that insurance in the private marketplace. place. We have right now citizens insurance in the state, but that is a taxpayer-backed liability, and we are approaching almost 1 million policies, and those are some of the riskiest throughout the state. We would love to see a few of those policies come off the taxpayer rolls and into the private market, and obviously we can help facilitate that. Finally, what I really wanted to talk about and end with were our evolving consumer protections, how they continue to go stronger, especially as it relates to predatory contractors. I just want to go through a few of them very quickly. Things like price control, consumer-friendly financing terms, confirmed terms on a phone call, 3-day right to cancel. We have what is all RPA's contractor enrollment, which is actually a heightened enrollment outside of just the state regulations and requirements. Finally, we do have low-income financing options for homeowners. I also want to say thank you very much. I wasn't as quick as I thought I was going to be, but thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nicholas Zuba. Speaking is actually attending virtually, also on G1. Is Mr. Zuba available?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and to the Hillsborough County Board of Commissioners. Appreciate and thankful for the opportunity to be able to speak to you this morning on the subject of C-PACE financing adoption here in Hillsborough County. C-PACE is an innovative financing tool that is empowering commercial property owners in Florida and all across the United States to be able to take control of their energy future by being able to reduce energy consumption within their buildings, and as well as being able then to adopt clean energy opportunities for their own buildings so that they can also become more energy independent on renewable sources. This has been very successful and a very innovative tool, as I've mentioned, that is helping, again, all these different kinds of property owners across the country, whether they be, ordinary commercial property owners and developers, multifamily property owners and their tenants, and as well as nonprofit organizations. Everybody can find a way to be able to finance these transactions now, to be able to get their energy consumption down, which has multiple different types of impacts, on in terms of public benefits and as well as economic benefits. The public benefits being namely that we're trying to find ways to reduce the impact of climate change, which no area is immune to today, that every area of the country is seeing the impacts of this gravest existential threat to our society. So anything we can do to reduce our energy consumption will help to get climate change under control. That's first. Second is certainly the economic opportunities that come from doing these C-PACE projects. By reducing energy consumption, that leads and translates to a reduction in energy costs, which then can lead to more money going into the pockets of business owners to be able then to consider to expand and grow their businesses. So it leads to future job opportunities for local residents in Hillsborough County to be able to continue to have economic prosperity and to thrive. And as well as at the same time, trying to do things that they can do to continue just operating and functioning as a business within those communities, so that they can basically continue to be supportive and helpful to the growth and the prosperity of then Hillsborough County as a whole. And then certainly third is what's probably most important at this point, is that even C-PACE, you could probably argue, can be a great inflationary fighting tool. In terms of what we're seeing with energy costs are also continuing to rise alongside of all other different kinds of goods and services that continue to increase. And so anything that can be done to then create an opportunity to have a tool that can actually help with now reducing energy costs will be a very, very important adoption and an important tool to be available to property owners within Hillsborough County today to get what is now becoming an increasingly higher cost that is going to be burdened on them as a property owner today. So this tool is very important at the right time to be able to continue fighting climate change, providing economic local opportunities for these different property owners and business owners, and then as well at the same time being able to fight inflation at this point, of keeping energy costs down for all these different property owners. And so in conclusion, I urge the support of the adoption of C-PACE in Hillsborough County because of all the potential benefits and opportunities that could come the way of local residents and as well as the different property owners all throughout the county. Thank you very much, and I hope that you will support this initiative today.
Thank you. That's the last speaker that spoke regarding items that are not a public hearing. We do have a public hearing at D1, and there is one person signed up. With that, we'll close public comment and consider the consent agenda.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, I have a Commissioner Cohen, second by Commissioner Smith. Please do a roll call vote.
Overman,
Yes.
Cullen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Ms. Wise.
Thank you. Commissioners, we have two items that I think we could handle before the time certain at 9:30. I think they'll both be quick. The first one is item B1. This is an agreement. This is regarding the county's obligations, various interlocal agreements by state law regarding CIT, gas tax, and tourist development tax. Kevin Brickey will present item B1.
Mr. Brickey, you're recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Kevin Brickey, Director of Management Budget. B1 is requesting your approval of a budget amendment to reflect stronger than anticipated revenues for the 9-cent fuel tax, the community investment tax, and the tourist development taxes. The budget amendment will increase revenues for the 9th cent and CIT and related distributions to the cities and also the school district for the CIT. This will allow us to make those distributions of revenue per the related interlocal agreements. The budget amendment will also increase the tax collector commissions due to for the collection of tourist development taxes and reduce revenues reserves commensurately. With that, I would ask for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The benefit of having our economy recover, and convention business, and everything else that's occurred in the last 2 years is certainly paying off, and I'm pleased to see that. Is there any other discussion? I don't see any.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Myers, a second by Commissioner Smith. Not seeing any other hands raised, please call the roll call.
Overman,
Yes.
Cullen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wise.
Thank you. The next item is Commissioner Hagan's item F1, regarding the Northdale Special Dependent District.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. This will only take a moment. Like many other boards and organizations, since the pandemic, the Northdale Dependent Tax District Board has had difficulty drawing enough board members to conduct official business. What makes things even more challenging is their ordinance calls for 9 members, and according to the county attorney's office, the Northdale District is the only such board in the county that requires that many. All other boards require only 7 members. I was first approached by the board in mid-July. My office immediately got with the county attorney's office for their input and direction. DeBoer has done a great job working on this, and essentially what we found out was there's nothing in either Florida statutes nor our policy that requires a particular number of board members. The process to alter the ordinance would be just to direct the county attorney's office to draft an amendment for our consideration, then to advertise and hold a public hearing. Without changing the ordinance, the Northdale Board will not be able to conduct official business after October 1. That's why the sense of urgency in placing it on the agenda. And the county attorney's office and the special district liaison do not foresee any adverse consequences. So the motion is simply to direct the county attorney's office to bring back to the Board of County Commissioners on or before September 8th a draft amendment to the Northdale Special Dependent Tax District enabling ordinance to lower the number of required district trustees from 9 to 7 and the number of district trustees required to constitute a quorum.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hagan, a second by Commissioner Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please take a roll call vote.
Overman,
Yes.
Cullen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate it. Ms. Wise, we are almost there.
Yes, I think with the introduction, it'll be 9:30. This is to receive a report from Safe and Sound Hillsborough for their 21 to 22 operational update by Freddie Barton, who is the Executive Director of Safe and Sound Hillsborough. This is item E1. Mr. Barton is on the line.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair, and to the Board of County Commissioners. I bring you greetings from Safe and Sound Hillsborough and our leadership council. Mrs. Julianne Holt, our public defender, who's our board chair, extends her greetings as well as her thanks to all of the county commissioners for their support over the years for Safe and Sound to continue the work of trying to reduce and prevent violence throughout our community, specifically over the last 2 years to really address the rising uptick that we're seeing in gun violence. As we've worked together through all of our community partners, our residents, our local organizations, we find ourselves still thrusting at the forefront of change, trying to figure out solutions tailored to our communities so that one, our youth can feel safe, and two, that we bring our communities together for community-minded solutions. So before I begin this update, I wanted to just extend my thanks to all of you for your support over the years, and in particular to Commissioners Overman and Commissioner Myers for their continued involvement in our day-to-day programming and support of our events, especially as we transitioned from this pandemic and as we still are continuing to find innovative ways to connect to our youth, to our residents, to find solutions to the rising uptick that we see in community violence, specifically with our youth. So I first want to begin by saying thank you. We wanted to make sure that this board was apprised of all of our activities that we've had in the previous fiscal year, as well as some things that we're doing in this current fiscal year. Our year ends September 30th. We'll start the new fiscal year in October 1 of this year. So we wanted to bring you up to date as to some of our signature programs that we've put in place, some of the promises that we made, and show you how we've met our goals and metrics, and then also talk about some future plans to address and prevent violence, specifically in some of our high target areas. I know that you have the presentation in front of you as part of your packet, but I'll go over several of the pages in depth and then also give you some narrative notes as we go through. Right now, I'm going to share my screen, and I just want to confirm that everyone's able to see it for the purposes of this presentation.
Yes, we are. We're able to.
Thank you. So I won't read through every slide, but I will go ahead and try to navigate this. As we welcome you, this is a hybrid report. So we have our annual report for our fiscal year 2021, but we also want you to know what's going on right now, especially because we've seen the rise and the uptick in community gun violence. So we wanted this board to know all of the things that we're doing, as well as some things that are being planned. This is not all inclusive of every program that we have, as well as some of the funding and leverage resources, which you'll get an updated report as this current fiscal year closes. But we'll also discuss some of the challenges that we face as we're trying to roll out programs and as we have current existing programs. As many organizations have felt the impact of COVID, we find ourselves looking for quality staff. We're looking for innovative solutions to address transportation needs for our residents and our clients in several programs. So we navigate some of the same challenges that many organizations have felt in the wake of this pandemic, but we still continue the work, and we can't do it without the support of this board and our leadership council and all of our community partners. The Board of County Commissioners and all of our interlocal agencies continue to stay committed to our efforts. We'd like to thank all of the members of our leadership council, our chair and our vice chair, extend their thanks to you. Commissioner Myers has just put on so much work to make sure that her office stays connected and the county stays connected to all of our efforts. So we thank all of our leadership council members. They stay committed. We attend monthly leadership council meetings just about every month, and they hear from the community. We have presentations from community organizations, as well as our civic groups, as well as residents and individuals who are in part of our programs, so that the board members can stay apprised of all of our work and also give feedback and some technical assistance when needed. Safe and Sound was founded upon the premise that violence is preventable. For those who are not very well versed in Safe and Sound's programming, we take a public health approach at reducing and preventing violence. Understanding that we've been trying to stop violence ever since Cain killed Abel. So it didn't start overnight. It's not going to end overnight. But what we can do is look at 4 things. How do we improve the overall health and wealth of communities? How do we keep residents connected to services and programs? How do we improve physical conditions in our neighborhoods? And how do we work together with other agencies, our faith-based communities, our members of law enforcement, our civic groups, all coming together for a coordinated approach to reducing and preventing violence? Understanding that the only way that you can truly measure the efficacy of a prevention-based effort is to have a long-term commitment to it. Thankfully, this board has stayed committed to that effort and said we are here for the long haul, because we have to focus at the end on those who are most at risk. When we hear that term, at-risk individuals, sometimes we forget to realize that in 2022, all of our youth are at risk. If we do not put things in place to make sure that children have a higher quality of life, then all of our youth are at risk. So we focus on looking at the contributing factors of violence, and we attack that head on. Again, this is just to bring you up to speed at some of our signature programs. This isn't an exhaustive list, but some of the things that we've committed to this board as well as to our community. So we wanted to give you an update as to where we are with those signature programs, as well as where we're going or plan to go, and what other support is needed in order for us to really move the needle at reducing, preventing violence, and making sure that we see change happen in our community. Our signature and our flagship component and sort of our anchor point now for a lot of our programs is at our Kings Forest Recreation Center. In the world of juveniles, if a child falls into the juvenile justice system, he or she, upon arrest, will then go to the Juvenile Assessment Center. There, he or she is assigned a point score on their DRE score, and that determines what happens to them before they go to arraignment and start navigating their process. Some youth are sent home for outright release until they receive their court date. Some youth need some level of supervision while they're home awaiting for their court date. And some youth, because of their scores, have to be confined at our juvenile detention center. We knew that just by having youth right there in the juvenile detention center for up to 21 days leaves a big gap in their educational attainment and their opportunity to just move away and move far from the incidents that caused them to be there in the first place. You can imagine when you were in school and you missed a couple of days from school because you were sick, 3 to 4 days, you were significantly behind when you got back. Imagine the youth that's now out of school for up to 21 days. So we knew that we had to put an alternative to and another improvement to supervised release. And so we created our reporting center. It's a community-based effort where we have mentors that come to our center in East Tampa, in the East Tampa area. We work on academic credit achievement for our youth that come through. We make sure that if they're in school, we're getting them back on track. If they're not in school, we find solutions to get them back in. We have 2 major goals of this component. One, that during that 21-day supervised release program period, that the youth does not reoffend. We address recidivism head on by making sure we connect them to mentors. The second is that they don't miss our failure or have any failure to appears for any court-ordered sanctions, court dates, therapy sessions, or anything else. Right now, the average rate of reoffending on supervised release from a 21-day period is right around 11 to 12 days. What that means is by the time a youth commits an offense, if there is nothing put in place to monitor that youth and provide him or her with some alternative, that within 11 to 12 days, he or she is likely to reoffend. The reporting center serves as the conduit to change that. And over the last year, we've increased and improved our programming and expanded it so that we can continue to connect with the youth beyond that 21-day period. Commissioner Myers, I want to thank you for always supporting the reporting center, also visiting the reporting center and speaking to the youth. All 3 juvenile judges support the reporting center in its efforts, and I'll go over the numbers to show just how effective that we've been at providing solutions to them. It's important to note in the upper right-hand corner of this screen that the reporting center serves youth in all of Hillsborough County. Just yesterday, we served youth from Waimama, Brandon, Town and Country, Progress Village, West Tampa, East Tampa, and North Tampa. So even though we may see a nucleus in certain dense spots, we serve youth all over Hillsborough County. While we're very grateful to be able to do that, it also comes with severe challenges, which I'll discuss in a few seconds. We also know that during a 21-day period, it's hard to really impact the life of a youth. We wanted to make sure that we could stay connected with this youth beyond the 21-day period. So our public defender created the Juvenile Holistic Advocacy Program, which allows us to stay connected with the youth for up to 90 days. And we increase services by having attorney ad litems appointed to the youth's case to help him or her navigate through the system. We also look at pairing them with an individual mentor from one of our faith-based organizations and focusing more on beyond the 90-day period, how we can get this youth navigating through and off of probation, knowing that as long as he or she is on probation, he or she is more likely that if they make one small mistake, they can further escalate down the path of delinquency in our juvenile justice system. Thankfully, with the launching of this in 2022, we've been able to see a great increase in the services being able to provide it, as well as a reduction in recidivism. Our snapshot of our data. For our reporting center with our 21-day youth, we've served 164 youth since we started. There was a little bit of ramp up time because we were still coming out of extreme social distancing requirements. But it's important to note that out of those 164 youth, our recidivism rate was hovering right at 20%, as opposed to 39% statewide for any youth that's on supervised release. So we're beating by half of recidivism rates for our entire state. When we look at what happens after that youth between 21 days and 90 days, the recidivism rate just hovers right below 29%. It's very important to note that during the 21-day period, these kids don't reoffend. But as soon as they finish out, if there's no handoff or continuation of services, we see the propensity for them to recidivate through the program. So it's important to stay connected. We also know that two things, education and employment, are the great equalizers in the lives of our youth. So we make sure that we provide some opportunity or pathway for youth to gain part-time employment, and we've been able to secure some just in our pilot year. Beneath that, we see our Juvenile Holistic Advocacy Program, which is our 90-day conduit, as I spoke, that's parked out of the Public Defender's Office. We serve 96 youth, and we're looking at a 31% recidivism rate, as opposed to, again, that 39 to now 42% statewide. Still making sure that we serve as a model for programs that want to replicate services. Again, we've been able to provide employment opportunities, and we're tracking these youth as they continue to phase out. This is, again, not without its challenges. Transportation still serves as the greatest barrier for our youth. Our reporting center is located near the fairgrounds, and we serve youth all throughout the county. We have staff that pick up our youth throughout the county, but we're looking at how do we either provide transportation via van support or bus support, or find some way to really get more youth involved. We're extremely limited in the number of youth that we can serve daily. We know that we can double those numbers, triple those numbers, but more importantly, reduce our recidivism numbers for our youth if we're able to just get them to our center, get mentors attached to them, and navigate them through the process. Making day-to-day home visits is not enough. We have to stay continually connected to our youth, especially as we look at opening up the school year. As we look at reducing and preventing violence, we know that we have to continue to thrust mental health at the forefront of every conversation. When we look at the slight increase that we're seeing nationwide in suicide rates, we have to make sure that people know it's okay to not be okay. Safe and Sound launched mental health first aid training workshops for individuals and organizations for free, and we've been doing that over the last 2 years. Through our partnership with the Children's Board, through the Crisis Center, through the Sheriff's Office, and others, we've been able to train over 500 certified mental health first aiders. That allows them to identify the signs and symptoms of someone who's exhibiting some type of mental illness or impairment. To be able to provide that initial handoff of services, we are now providing mental health first aid for adults that work with youth, and now we've just recently completed certification to provide a mental health first aid workshop in person and virtually to teens who want to work with other teens. It's important that we continue this effort and we continue to find supportive funding so that we can also always provide this for free to our community. As I mentioned earlier, two things serve as the great equalizers: education and employment. Safe and Sound is the platform that the City of Tampa uses as part of the national My Brother's Keeper initiative, which focuses on increasing opportunity for boys and young men of color. There are 6 tenets under this program, and Safe and Sound focuses mainly on 2. 1, to make sure that youth graduate from high school, and that because we address violence prevention, that we ensure all youth remain safe from violent crime. We know that there are several youth in our community that get behind education-wise and with their credits. Every summer for the last 2 years, we just completed our one for this year, we take youth who are severely credit deficient, starting at 9th grade, transitioning into 10th, all the way from those 11th graders transitioning to 12. If a child or a youth is credit deficient by the time he or she gets to 12th grade, they are severely impacted in their ability to graduate and stay on track, therefore limiting their ability to have a high quality of life. We pair our youth over the summer with teachers that are navigating them through Ingenuity and other credit recovery tools, where we see an average in our first pilot year that over an 8-week period, we were able to get an average of 1.5 credits caught up per grade that we saw with our youth. We replicated those numbers this year. We actually increased it, and we have an average of about 2 credits over an 8-week period. We know that summer is an opportunity for youth to let their hair down and not think about school, but we also know it's an opportunity for our youth to get caught up. This is a program that we actually do at our rec center in Town and Country over at Sandy Perone, so we're thankful to the county for allowing us to utilize that facility to continue the effort to keep youth on track so that we improve the quality of life for them as well as their families. In 2020, we know that the nation and this world were thrust into hearing 2 words, and that was social justice. Knowing that we have to address equity, opportunity, and leadership for all of youth and all communities, but specifically for our communities of color. We partnered with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to launch a social justice initiative where we work with middle school students over at Young Middle, 25 to 30 now youth, and we pair them up with mentors from the Buccaneers organization. They interact with players, and the players serve as those leadership and inspiring mentor individuals to move on to the next level. Through our leadership component, we have seen 100% grade promotion. We have served over 50 youth in this program, and we continue to expand our curriculum and address family needs as well. In the upcoming year, we're going to have a family support network that's built into this program so that we continue to see, as our youth move from middle school to high school, they have the supports that they need to be successful. As every year, we have our scholarship recipients. We were able to provide 6 scholarships to individuals from our Hillsborough County schools to move on to secondary education. We've been able to provide over $25,000. So the funding that we raise and through our interlocal money, we want to make sure also goes directly to our youth. And not only do we provide the scholarships, but we follow on with our youth. This is our 3rd year providing scholarships. And we have 2 students that next year will be graduating from college, and then they're going to come back and tell us about their experience and also pour into the minds and hearts of those who have yet to graduate from school. Looking at another contributing factor of violence, we have to make sure that youth continue to feel safe. We know that this county is very supportive of preventing human trafficking. We've partnered with our Tampa Teens group to bring messaging out to youth all throughout the county and address how to protect students from online predators, how to identify unsafe environments, unsafe situations, how to stay connected with youth and serve as peers and also ambassadors to keep safe against human trafficking, any possible scenario that's out there. I myself serve as a facilitator and coordinator of some of the workshops, and then we continue to help support our teen messaging components. We've been able to positively impact over 800 teens through our messaging campaign to prevent human trafficking. Again, addressing literacy and education, we knew that you have to start as early as possible. We cannot wait until a youth gets to middle school or high school to answer the question, why are they behind? We helped partner with a literacy initiative where we partnered with several barbershops throughout Hillsborough County, And we built bookcases, and we have books that are contributed and donated to those barbershops where youth read aloud. Instead of having individuals read to them, they're reading aloud on their books over multiple sessions. At the end of those sessions, those kids are given a quiz to check their reading comprehension, to check their literacy rate. And then at the end of that, those youth are incentivized. We've been able to say that over the last period, we targeted 75 youth in our program for the first year. We beat that and had 90 youth in our first year all throughout Hillsborough County. We'll continue this effort knowing that we have to increase the educational attainment of our youth as early as possible. As I mentioned before, our latest effort over the last year and a half to 2 years has been addressing the increase that we're seeing nationwide and also locally on gun violence. Commissioner Myers took this on as a project and said that we have to work in our urban core and surrounding areas to do several things. One, help the community understand that we have to band together to reduce and prevent gun violence, that we also understand this is not a gun issue, it's a gun violence issue, that we have to support victims and their families, and that we have to take a preventive approach at reducing this effort. To begin that, Commissioner Myers held a series of town halls throughout different areas of the county to bring residents together, not to just talk about the problems, but to also put forth community-based solutions and using Safe and Sound Hillsborough as the central conduit. Commissioner Myers and this Board of County Commissioners was able to provide some support funding in the amount of $200,000 so that we can lift up a pilot initiative. Knowing that that's just the start of it, we need to expand out. But before we started to do anything, we had to create a plan to address this and had to have community members at the forefront. From January 1 to April 30th of 2022, we have already eclipsed all of the shootings, fatal and non-fatal, in all of 2021. So it was important that before we started to execute any program, that we let the community know this is serious, we have to address it right now, we have to declare it as the crisis that it is, and we can only do this work if everyone agrees to come together and support one another, support the efforts, and have one central way and conduit to do that, which is what Commissioner Myers has asked Safe and Sound Hillsborough to do. We are tackling this in a 4-part component: providing education and awareness throughout our community by putting events together that are designed to work with our youth and families, by creating a community response team similar to our mental health component, that when a shooting happens in an area of the county, within a 24-hour period, there will be a person that will connect Human Services, Department of Health, Children and Families, a mental health counselor or family support individual, and they'll be mobilized to move to that community to work with the family. Many times when we hear a shooting has occurred, we know law enforcement goes out to address the issue and find out who committed this heinous crime. However, there's not an immediate handoff of services and support for those family members who've been affected. So we're going to create that community response team, and I'll explain that a bit more. We're creating another expansion of our reporting center, our youth gun offender program, youth gun and weapon offender program, where any youth that gets arrested on a gun or weapon related offense, we're going to provide intensive services immediately upon their release from secure confinement, so that we track them for over 1 year with the goal that they do not reoffend within a full 1 year period. And the only way that we can do that is to have dedicated staff and mentors assigned to each individual youth. And then our final 4th component is our community collaborative engagement component. We know that there are several organizations that address preventing violence and gun violence in our community. And everyone has events, and everyone wants everyone to attend their events. We're going to create a shared community calendar so that we can streamline things and support one another so that we can have one unified message, starting with our joint PSA campaign. Over this past summer, we partnered in our education component with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and the Corrections Transition Program and the Boys and Girls Club, where we talked about the consequences of choices and talked to our youth that were from middle school leading to high school on the importance of not committing violent acts, specifically with our guns and weapons, and that there are other ways and alternative ways to deal with conflict. We were able to serve over 100 youth over this pilot summer, just in over a 4-week period, and we look to expand that with continued support. For parents and adult members in our community, we're still continuing to provide gun locks and gun safes through our partners, such as Moms Demand Action, to make sure that, and not just to provide it, but also educate them on how to use that. Again, this is not a gun issue, it's a gun violence. How do we prevent accidental shootings? How do we prevent people from picking up guns in the first place because of anger? Again, our community response team, we're going to partner with our faith-based community, our family support agencies, our Department of Health, trauma-based organizations, so that we can provide immediate relief and support to those victims and their families. We're also partnering with the state attorney's office through their victims assistance unit to have an individual to help coordinate that effort as we move along. Our youth gun and weapon offender, we're looking at youth between the ages of 13 and 18. They'll be ordered to the reporting center for a long period of time via court mandate. Our juvenile judges have already signed and committed to helping work with us. They have to complete over 100 hours of dedicated programming within a 6-month period, and we'll continue to track them for 6 months after. So keeping them committed to a 1-year program. Educating them on the awareness of what happens when a person has a firearm injury. Personal experiential awareness. Having these youth go through morgues, having them go through the crisis center, having them go through a trauma center, having them go to a funeral home, having them to write their own eulogy and then read that out to their mom, their father, their guardian, and let them understand and feel the impact of what happens when a life is lost. And then continuing to move and work through our anger management, our life skills curriculum, our decision-making curriculum, and attitudinal changes curriculum component to make sure that these youth every single day are reminded of the effects of a firearm injury and how it can not only affect them for committing the offense and affect the victims, but families and the entire community. As we continue on, we've built in a process by which once the youth goes to court, we immediately are able to work with that youth and keep them on throughout the year. We've created requirements for them. We've created scoring criteria as well as a pathway to track their outcomes. With this new pilot initiative, we're going to look at 30 youth that have committed these offenses over the next 3 to 4 months. We want 80% of our youth to complete the program with less than 20% recidivism rate while in the program. We're having dedicated mentors. We're still working with our faith-based element and community to really recruit more mentors. We know that we're going to need more than just one person to work with these youth who are committing these offenses, to stay with them daily, not a weekly or monthly dose, but a daily dose to continue to work with these youth so that they do not reoffend and decide to pick up another weapon in anger or for any other reason. And I've told you that these are just several of our components. It's not all of our programs that we've put together, but several of our highlighted programs that we've put together, and we wanted to report on that. But it's also important to let you know that we've stayed committed to being good stewards of the financial resources that are provided, not just through the Board of County Commissioners, but through all of our interlocal partners. We track our expenses. We have our finance committee that works to provide financial reports to our leadership council. We also provide an annual audit. Our grant funding, we know that we have our interlocal partners, but we also knew that we have to look at sustainability and raising funds outside of interlocal. Our grants and our other committed contracts amounts have increased over the last year, and we'll continue to do that so that we have a lower percentage of interlocal funds and a higher percentage increase in outside funds, including grants, possible appropriations from state legislature if we can get those approved, contributions. We have our private partners such as the Buccaneers and the Lightning and other institutions that help support our efforts. We will continue to show that we are able to drive more revenue to help support programs. But it is also very important to look at our revenue just with the programs that we've highlighted. And we have worked with over 2,800 youth over the last 2 years. But we are severely underfunded, but we leverage the resources through in-kind and fundraising efforts. We know that we need more, but we're also going to work with what we have as we try to raise more. Once we receive that funding, we also look at our expenses. It's important to note that 61% of our dollars goes towards our program support. We have our direct expenses, and less than 10% of the revenues that we receive go to management and general expenses, including our administrative fee that goes to our fiscal agent. Every year we have an audit that's done by Rivera and Gordimer. And once again, in our last fiscal year, we have had no findings, both with Safe and Sound, as well as our fiscal agent, the CDC of Tampa. We will continue to work hard and make sure that we are transparent in the way that we spend our funding, how we leverage resources, and how do we make sure dollars are going right back out to the community so that we can truly have an impact. We can't do this without the support of our interlocal agencies and all of our community partners, all of the private institutions, all of the residents that come out and keep us honest as to what we say that we're going to do, and also for you and individual commissioners that say, hey, I really want you to address this issue, and let's find a way that the county can support you. So I want to thank you for keeping us honest, keeping us supported, and keeping us expanding our programs. Again, we cannot do this work alone. We have to work together to build strong families, safe schools, and healthy neighborhoods. This is once again a recap of our work in 2021 and 2022, as well as planned work that we see in our upcoming fiscal year.
Mr. Barton, thank you very, very much for that extensive presentation. I have a slew of questions, but I'm looking to see if there are any comments from the commissioners or Commissioner Myers. Would you like to?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just like to thank Freddie Barton for all that he does in helping our community. I don't know if you all noticed in one of the slides, the guys that had on the purple shirts are ex-felons. They're working for Feeding Tampa Bay, and they have the opportunity to attend some of the sites that we visit through the Boys and Girls Club. They've been in jail for like 38 years. And they're coming out and sharing their stories to individuals between the ages of 10 to 18 of what not to do to get themselves in trouble. And thank you so much, Freddie, for that partnership, because the individuals see firsthand how your life can be turned upside down with your family by making the wrong choices. And having our evening reporting center allow those individuals that are coming there to understand if you make another wrong choice, you could end up in jail. And so we're doing everything that we possibly can do to save just one youth, that they do not have to be incarcerated. So thank you again, Freddie, for all what you do and Safe and Sound.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other commissioners that wish to make a comment? Okay, well, I would like to just say thank you for everything you do. You and your team of volunteers and mentors and everyone, along with your entire leadership council. We know that this especially the last couple of years, have been enormously stressful for families and communities. Being able to offer what sounds like or looks like case management services to help with the mental health issues that are associated with the crisis that many families have experienced, bringing youth into a situation where they have mentorship and may be able to make better decisions. When people are hugely stressed, families are stressed, and budgets are stressed, that puts additional stress on communities that could experience gun violence or other types of situations, especially from youth, that honestly are setting a path for themselves for the rest of their life. And the work that you do is wonderful in that respect. I'm curious regarding your youth gun offender program, which I'm thrilled to see, because we are experiencing that in many of our most vulnerable communities, but also in communities we never expected it, not only from youth, but also, in adults, and the way they seem to be responding to not being able to get along these days. That program is going to have, in my opinion, a lot more pressure on its ability to perform over the next several years, especially as we find housing dollars not as available as they once were to keep people in houses in their homes, and that may have additional pressures on it. What does your funding plan look like for that program alone? And are you anticipating the need for expanding that program, or what do you have allocated specifically for that program to make sure it's sufficient to meet the need?
Absolutely. So thanks to Commissioner Myers and this Board of County Commissioners, $200,000 was set forth to launch this pilot initiative to address gun violence. A portion of that money is going to go towards this youth gun offender program so that we can hire a community coordinator and support staff. As you can imagine, that's very little to work with our youth. Plus portion, at least half of that money is going to support our other community programming efforts. We're already working, I've worked with county staff to talk about sustainability in the next year or two. How do we look at addressing that? When you look at the average cost to manage a youth through something, just our regular reporting center, you're looking at north of anywhere from 11,000 to 13,000 per youth that we serve, and that's before services are provided. We're looking at how do we take and leverage this 200,000 to start with 30 youth. But we know that there are two main expenses that we're going to have to cover. One is our transportation. How do we make sure kids are transported to us so that we can serve them every single day? Where we can't put that burden on mom when mom has to make sure that she goes to work, and we're working with that youth from the second he or she gets out of school all the way into the evening hours to make sure that they're protected. And the second is simply staffing, making sure that we have the staff in place. So we're putting together some type of ask list now. We plan to launch this youth gun offender component in October as a continued expansion of our reporting center. The one thing that we do have that's working for us is that we're going to park this through our reporting center. So we already have an engine that's moving. We have space that's there. We have mentors, but we know that we're going to need to increase that funding so that we can be true to our outcomes. We know that this is going to be difficult. You're talking about a youth that's 13, 14, 15 years of age that picked up a gun and fired a gun or stole a gun. And how do you track that youth for a year? And how do you make sure that you stay true to your program structure? So we know that we'll need more support for that, more funding support, more in-kind support, more mentorship support. But at least we're grateful for Commissioner Myers and this board to say, look, we've got to start somewhere. So what can you do with this? So we're working with that. So if your question is, hey, do you need more money? The answer is absolutely yes, so that we can hire more staff to work with our youth.
Well, I knew that was a question you needed answered, but I also wanted to ask you about the transportation element associated with this. How do you go about coordinating with what transportation systems we actually have, which are limited, obviously, but are you able to use HART's regular bus service? Are you able to use HART Plus or any other resources that are publicly funded transportation assets? Or are you having to rely on private transport or private transport systems because of the lack of transportation resources that we have in Hillsborough County?
Transportation is the #1 issue for providing services, not just for our center, but multiple organizations. When you think about next week, August 10th, school starts. We're working with our youth as soon as they get out of school. You're talking about a student that is down in South County at Leonard High School or Sumner or East Bay, and trying to connect them with public transportation to get to a center over by the fairgrounds, which is where we provide services. By the time he or she is able to do that, it's 7:00 p.m. by the time they get there, and we continue our programming through 8:30 p.m. So we need to get them there as early as possible. Right now, staff are having to provide transportation individually, including myself, to pick up youth and get them there. What we've been trying to work through with HART, with Sunshine Line, with other agencies is to see if, as vehicles are being cycled out, if there's a way to provide larger vehicles, vans or transit buses, so that we can pick up more youth. The only way that we can solve this issue is to have some way to get more youth to the center early as possible so that we can work with them. We also know that we serve youth throughout this 1,000 square mile radius. So we have youth that, again, yesterday we picked up youth from Waimama, from West Tampa, from North Tampa, from Brandon, from Progress Village. So you can imagine that route. So the challenge that we had with HART was, or any other private agency, is there's no dedicated route for youth, because youth are referred and ordered to our center every day. Unfortunately, every day I'm in juvenile detention hearings, and we have youth that are scoring for the reporting center. So we have a revolving door of youth. So it's hard to create a consistent route. So we need to find ways to connect with vehicles that are available, whether it's through Parks and Rec or through HART or Sunshine Line. We've been trying to see if there are those that are available, so that way staff can be deployed in 2 or 3 different regions of the county, pick youth up as soon as they're out of school, get them to the center, provide the services to them, and then get them back. Also, as we provide community service opportunities and experiential learning on the weekends, same issue, being able to connect and get to those kids. So we're definitely open to any suggestions and solutions, but we know that we have to find ways to be able to pick up the kids.
Thank you for that. It is, I can't imagine how you go about doing that. I know that our Children's Services Department and through the foster care system has a similar challenge with being able to manage visitation for the children that have the need to visit with their parents at a central site. They too have a severe problem with managing the resources and transporting children, safely from one place to another. But I would like to continue working with you on trying to find solutions for that, because I think that is a big barrier. And if we are able to, if we're able to invest in our transportation system to give HART a better ability to provide more frequent bus service around the county, which is there, it's just not frequent enough, to be able to serve some of these children that might be of value too. The question I had for you was on the area of the children that are in your system. Do you track the number of children that are either entering or about to enter or are already in the foster care system, and what percentage of the children that end up in the Safe and Sound programs have come from the foster care system? Do you have that information?
We do track. The number is relatively low. The percentage is relatively low simply because of the issue that we just brought up with transportation, and also the lack of a stable environment to know where these youth are. If we're able to connect with a youth, if I see a kid in detention hearings and we know that they're in the foster care system, the first question I ask is there a way to know where he or she is going to be over the next 7 days? If there's a way to do that and they're not necessarily night to night, or even if there are night to night, if we're able to connect with that counselor or the case manager that's attached to them, then yes, we want to provide services. But we don't want to do a disservice to a youth and say that we're going to try to work with this youth to keep him or her on the right track and not be able to follow up and follow through because they're night-to-night placement. So it's by design that we limit the number of foster care youth. We would love to be able to provide services, but we have to first solve the bigger issue, which is housing stability and placement for youth. And that's something that it's not necessarily in our wheelhouse, so we didn't want to take it on. We are certainly willing to partner, but let other agencies handle that. And then as we find that sense of stability, we are more than happy to work with our dually involved youth.
Excellent. Thank you very much, because it is in a population, and we want to make sure it doesn't just grow into, our prison systems, which
absolutely
is obviously the goal that we'd like to avoid. Thank you very much for your presentation today, and for all the information you provided and for the work that you do. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
With that, do I have a motion to receive the report?
Move for
So
approval.
moved. Oh.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Kemp and a second by Commissioner Myers. Please take a roll call vote. Thank you.
Overman,
Yes.
Cullen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wise.
Thank you. The next item is item G1. This is pursuant to board request to receive information on the Commercial PACE program, the Solar Energy Loan Fund program, SELF, and also Commissioner White had asked for information about other home improvement projects and organizations that provide that information. So first we're going to have Frank Strom, who will present.
There we go. Okay, so he just talked about our mission, but I want to talk to you, everyone who may not know about SELF, how we got started, how long we've been in business. We started in 2010. We were started by a gentleman named Doug Coward. He was actually a county commissioner over in St. Lucie County, and his mission was to ensure that not only rich people could afford energy efficient homes. He wanted to make sure low to moderate income families could have energy efficient air conditioners, new roofs when they were old, afford solar if they needed to. So that first sentence in our mission is what our CEO is all about. And that basically states SELF mission is to rebuild and empower underserved communities by providing access to affordable and inclusive financing to sustainable home improvements. So that is what we are all about. And I'm going to go now into a high level details of what we do exactly. So next slide, sir. All right. So there we go. All right, so lending for everyone. I'm going to talk about the differentiators between SELF and the traditional financial institutions or home improvement finance companies. So one of the biggest differentiators is SELF does not add anything to the tax roll. It's totally unsecured loans. All right, so a lot of times you'll hear companies say, "Oh, it's unsecured," but if they're adding more to that homeowner's taxes and that homeowner has a hardship, then that homeowner could actually lose their home just by adding a new air conditioner to their home. So that's one thing that we pride in. We don't put a lien on your home. We don't get the title to the car or anything like that. Our loans are strictly unsecured. Another differentiator is we have a proprietary underwriting process. So what we do is we will build the loan around our homeowner's ability to pay. So we're going to look at your monthly income versus your monthly expenses. We have no minimum credit score, so because we're basically looking at your pay history over the last 2 to 3 years, okay, just to make sure nothing major is going on. We have a lot of hardworking people, middle-class people that may have had some issues in the past, but they've been caught up over the last 2 to 3 years, so their credit score may not reflect their ability to pay. So those are the things that we're going to do that sets us apart. We build our loan around our client's ability to pay. So we also have interest rates as low as 5%, which is unheard of for an unsecured loan. I did 15 years in banking. I've underwritten everything from a $300 secured card all the way up to a $175,000 Porsche. So I know what interest rates are, and an unsecured interest rate at 5% is unheard of, especially when someone is looking to get an air conditioner, a new roof, or windows. So that's something that sets us apart from a lot of the other financial institutions as well. Another thing that sets us apart is we're going to manage that project for that homeowner from start to finish. So we aren't just going to say, "Hey, you're approved," and now you're at the mercy of the contractor. We're going to view every contract. We're going to view every estimate, every quote, to ensure that it's comparable to the size of your home. So if you have a 2,000 square foot home and you're getting a 3-ton, 16-SEER air conditioner, we're going to be looking at that estimate to ensure that you aren't being gouged, to ensure that contractor is actually giving you a comparable quote for the size of your home. So that's something that we do. We do not leave our homeowners out to dry. We ensure that they are being taken care of from start to finish. Another thing that we do is we're gonna vet those contractors. I'm quite sure the other organizations, they vet the contractors as well. But we're going to vet those contractors, ensure they have the proper license, proper insurance. We're going to make sure that they don't have any liens against their license. We're going to check their Google review, their Better Business Bureau ratings. We're going to make sure that anyone going out to your home is going to do a good job for you. And we do allow you to choose your own contractor. And if you decide to use your own contractor, we will vet those contractors as well. Another thing that sets us apart is on the contractor side. we allow those contractors to use our financing at zero cost. So there's no dealer fees. We don't add points. So that way that contractor can use their lowest price. They can use their cash price. And that is going to help get that client, get that homeowner a lower cost on their job. So that is another thing that we pride ourselves in. So you can go to the next slide, sir. All right, so just to talk a little bit about our lending programs, the CDFI loan that's basically what it says. They're a community development financial institution. That's basically what SELF is. We're a nonprofit, but we are a CDFI. And that is where about 85% of our loans go. But I also want to talk about the other things we do, because a lot of people out there aren't sure, they aren't sure of all the things that we will finance. So we will finance, I'll go down to Kiva. Just a little note about Kiva. Kiva is a worldwide crowdfunding company. They actually work with about 10 companies in the US. The last time I looked, it was about 10. It could have gone up since I've looked, and that was maybe about 2 months ago. But they also partner with us on a part of getting our funds in for our clients. So the HALO is the home adaptation loan options. That is for our homeowners with disabilities. So we will actually finance wheelchair ramps. We will widen hallways for our clients. We will finance that for you. We will financing lowering cabinets in the kitchen. We will finance walk-in showers and tubs. So those are the things that we will finance for our clients and our homeowners that are in need of aging in place and disability upgrades to their home. Okay? The water quality loans. A lot of people weren't aware that we did these loans as well. Septic to sewer. We will actually finance lateral line replacements. We will finance irrigation systems. Anything to conserve water in your home, even major plumbing issues. We will also finance those items as well. The SEER and the CLEAR, those are two that if you were to call me, I would actually send you to one of my counterparts. But SEER stands for Sustainable Energy Efficiency and Resilient Loans. These are very important loans to our landlords out there that are looking to do energy efficient upgrades to their rental properties or their apartment complexes. So those loans will actually benefit them, and that is an excellent program. So any landlords that are out there, this will actually work great for you. CLEAR is our Clean Energy and Resilience Loan. These loans are flexible unsecured gap funding for green affordable housing projects up to 10% in new construction or NOAA. And NOAA, that is actually new. It's in our Miami office. And NOAA is actually I'm sorry. It stands for, I can't remember what NOAA said. It's, natural occurring affordable housing. I apologize for that. But those two items, the SEER and CLEAR, those are the expertise of my counterparts. So if anyone calls me, any landlords out there, if you need me, I will direct you to them. So these are the things that SELF will finance. We finance anything that's going to conserve water, make your home more energy efficient, make your home more sustainable. These are the things that SELF is going to finance for all of your constituents in Hillsborough County. Next slide, sir. All right, so I want to talk about the numbers briefly. So over the last 3 years, we've lent over about $2 million just in Hillsborough County alone. All right, and a lot of people may look and say, well, that number's not that big. But if you think about it, the average air conditioner replacement is about $6,000 to $7,000. The average roof replacement is about $11,000. So if you look at the $2 million, you say, hey, that's a lot of loans, that's a lot of roofs, a lot of air conditioners. And that's what we pride ourselves in, is making sure that everyone has a new air conditioner, new roof, new windows. Because as we all know, living in Florida, an air conditioner, it isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. So to be able to help those elderly people, those people in low to moderate income areas, get a new air conditioner when their air conditioner is inoperable, that's our feel-good story. And one more thing about that $1.9 million I'd like to expand on are the contractors. So the local contractors in Hillsborough County, they actually are a huge part of that number. We are able to, those contractors, the small contractors, the two-man air conditioning companies, they're able to offer this financing free of charge, but they are also able to service the surrounding counties from Hillsborough County, which actually has bumped up their bottom line by tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars because they're able to finance that person that may not have the best credit or may not have the most money. They don't have to leave that client behind. They can send that client to us and we will finance that client for them. So it's a win-win for all of the people living in Hillsborough County, and it's a win for the contractors as well. So that's one thing that I love about SELF is that we are able to help that small contractor and those people that actually need the energy efficient upgrades for their home. The financial inclusion, this is something that is really big to us. You'll see those credit scores there. 27% of the people that were approved, their credit score was below 600. Okay, like I said before, I did 15 years in banking. I wouldn't approve anybody that had a 585 credit score for a $10,000 roof. It just does not happen. But since we have that proprietary underwriting formula that we use, we are able to fund those people that may not have the best credit, because those people, they deserve a new roof, they deserve a new air conditioner, they deserve new windows, they deserve to have conserved water as well. So that is why another reason why this program has been very instrumental to Hillsborough County. So it says below that, assisted 181 local families and 287 contractors. That number has actually gone up a little since this has been put together, but that is something that I love to share. We are helping a ton of families in Hillsborough County receive the assistance that they need in getting those energy efficient upgrades. Over to the right, you'll see a breakdown of the percentage of people that are actually using our program. And you'll see where it says women, veterans, seniors, fixed income, low to moderate income. But the one thing I definitely want you to notice is the default rate of 2%. People are saying, well, how are you able to finance these people and help these people with an unsecured loan? Are you guys losing your shirt? And the answer is no. That underwriting that we use, it's doing its job. You'll see 54% of the people that are financed are women, and the women may fall into those categories: veterans, seniors, fixed income, low to moderate income. We have programs to help all of those people. So some questions people may have: well, how do you come up with your interest rates? Well, we have our interest rates are, what we do is our mission is to find you the lowest interest rate possible. So we have different programs within our organization. So we have programs for women, we have programs for veterans, we have programs for disabled people, we have programs for seniors. And what we're going to do is our underwriters are going to find you the lowest interest rate possible. And that's another thing that we pride ourselves in. We make sure that those payments for our homeowners comfortably fit into their budget. And that's another reason why the default rate is only at 2%. So the other part of that, as well, the initial seed grant, that's the seed money that we received from the county, we were able to leverage that to a 6-to-1 margin, and we are grateful and thankful that Hillsborough County believed in us and believed in our mission and has partnered with us to ensure all the people in Hillsborough County are able to benefit from our program, and we are grateful big time. All right, so I'm going to hang around. If anybody has any questions, I will be more than happy to answer your questions at the end. So I thank you again. My phone number is 727-315-3223. Again, it's 727-315-3223. And my email address is robp@solarenergyloanfund.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was an excellent presentation.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Perry. Commissioners, the final part of our report will cover the commercial pace assessed clean energy, known as CPACE. CPACE is a tool that can finance efficient and renewable energy improvements on commercial properties. Like other traditional real estate financing methods, CPACE uses borrowed capital to pay for the upfront costs associated with energy improvements. The capital is repaid over time via a voluntary special assessment. As a matter of background, the Board of County Commissioners had authorized CPACE as part of the previously approved PACE program. However, it was not widely utilized at the time, with only 6 self-reported assessments by Counterpoint Energy Solutions at the end of 2019. The board is not prohibited from authorizing a PACE program limited to commercial properties. Next slide. In response to Commissioner Overman's request for information on CPACE, we have invited Mr. Michael Yackey, Senior Vice President and Senior Counsel for Policy and Programs, Petros PACE Finance, here today to provide a brief overview of the program. Thank you, Mr. Yackey, you are introduced.
Thank you very much, Frank, and thank you, members of the county commissioner. I am honored to be here with you. I used to be your counterpart in California. I was a member of the Board of Supervisors, which does the same kind of work, and so I appreciate the time you've given me today. I also wanted to say to the folks itself, and also to the previous speaker on the report on the African American programs that were going on. I'm a member of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. I've been for 16 years, and those programs are of great interest to me. But on commercial pace, let's just get started really quickly. It's been around forever. Ben Franklin started the first assessment district in Philadelphia as a fire district. And there are 37,000 assessment districts nationwide, range from water and sewer, parks, sidewalks, and of course, pace. We go to the next slide. Next slide. Thank you. It's property-based financing for energy and water efficiency, renewable and wind resistance in Florida. It acts like an assessment on the property. It's repaid over a long time horizon, 25, 30 years. The lien resides with the building, not the owner. It stays with the property. It doesn't accelerate. That has importance. We can talk about later, but unlike a mortgage where if you miss a payment, the entire amount becomes due, only the yearly payment is ever due if there is ever a foreclosure. There are cash flow benefits, operating expenses, stabilization periods for new construction, low risk, and for lack of a better word, there is 0 foreclosures on CPACE properties nationwide, including in the state of Florida. Next slide. CPACE is authorized in Florida under Florida Statutes 163.08. As you know, as you previously had a program here, local county and city governments across Florida have adopted this, including, as you can see from the list here, some of your neighbors in Broward, Orange, Osceola, et cetera. You can see all the folks who are here. Let's move on. Just to say, it's been around a while, and there are a lot of counties who adopted. So we can go to the next slide. Now, this is the important part. Commercial PACE is only for certain types of properties. Commercial buildings only. Office, multi-office, agricultural, hotels, retail, industrial, multifamily rental housing above 5 units. You see the lines do not connect residential. Residential is not part of commercial PACE. And all the commercial PACE programs that are commercial PACE only in the state of Florida, in their enabling resolution, define what properties are actually available to these categories: office, multifamily plus 5, industrial, retail, and agriculture. What we can see is that in Florida, we have done a number of different projects involving multifamily, hotel, retail, and office, as have my colleagues who spoke earlier. Next slide. And one of the cool things about commercial PACE, it is a public-private partnership in which you give us permission to work within your bounds. But there's no government debt or funding at risk. It solely comes from private capital. There's no obligation or liability if a property owner does not repay. All the risk is transferred to us. There's no administrative burden to you. The PACE districts, you heard two of them earlier during public comment. Petros works with FRED, the Florida Resiliency and Energy District, actually, which I created in 2016, and the Florida Green Finance Authority, FGFA. They're the ones who review, approve, and actually assess the properties. It's not your assessment. It's an economic development tool. You incentivize retrofits, and new construction. It creates jobs in the local economy. And nationwide, there have been over 2,500 buildings, over $2 billion worth of financing for CPACE. Next slide. And finally, just I want to end on this. Frank told me to keep it under 5 minutes. I have 15 seconds left. One of the best practices that you have in commercial PACE, as you heard was referenced earlier today, is lender consent. Both FRED and FGFA require lender consent. That means any secured mortgage holder on the property must say yes before we can provide CPACE financing. This enables sort of an additional layer of underwriting to occur to make sure that they're not over leveraged, they don't go underwater. This is because the bank or investor who knows that we're going to be jumping ahead of them in the priority of liens wants to make sure that what we do will not jeopardize their ability to get their money. So it's a very good practice, and Petros nationwide, the majority of the states that have commercial PACE require it in their statutes. Practically every program in the country requires lender consent as part of their program as well. I'm available to answer any questions. My name is Michael Yaki. You can contact me at 415-601-4008, or my email is myaki, Y-A-K-I, at petrospartners.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yaki, for your helpful and informational presentation. Commissioners, in conclusion, your backup material contains an in-depth list of resources available to our citizens for energy-efficient home improvement programs and lending options. Our Consumer Protection Division will continue to work with our citizens by providing education and mediation assistance as needed. This concludes my report. Our staff and our presenters are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you all for your presentations. I truly appreciate it. I wanted to bring the commercial PACE program back for the board's consideration, given that there is a level of underwriting associated with making sure the bank that has a loan already on the property, or the mortgage holder on a commercial property has a level of underwriting that is not available in the residential PACE program, but does appear to be available in the SELF program. So it's a much different arrangement. So part of what we had previously discussed when it came to using a PACE program for funding on doing improvements on homes was that there wasn't enough underwriting for having first lien position on the residential side. That raised the concern I had, as well as many of other commissioners had mentioned, of the loans actually being placed in a situation without the proper underwriting, making sure the ability to pay had been presented. The commercial PACE program requires the mortgage lender, it's my understanding, to review the document, review the amount of outstanding debt associated with the property and their ability to pay as part of their underwriting process. Is that accurate? I wanted to make sure that that is an accurate statement when it comes to the commercial PACE program.
Chair Overman, this is Michael Yaki. To respond to your question, it is not only notice is required under the Florida statute. However, the Florida PACE districts that we belong to, the Florida Green Finance Authority and the Florida Resiliency and Energy District, both require all their CPACE program administrators to obtain lender consent, and so that is how we operate. You have the ability, if you so choose, to make that a requirement, but again, it's up to you. And I know that I have a couple of colleagues who testified earlier who had some objections to that, but it's ultimately up to you to decide. There are other states that do not have quote unquote lender consent in their statutes, like California, and many of the districts that offer CPACE there do require, as part of joining them, to have lender consent.
And I appreciate the fact that they might delay the process, but it's the only reason why I would consider it in the first place. So, because I do believe that any lender situation should require a due diligence and underwriting. I am pleased to hear on the SELF program that it has focused in an area that oftentimes does not always prove easy to underwrite in our traditional banking situation, but they also tend to be, as we've seen from the report, the 2% default ratio is impressive. So obviously the due diligence that's being done there and the underwriting that's being done for those particular lending situations is working, and I'm pleased to see that. I don't see any hand raised.
Commissioner Overman, I have my hand raised. I guess you're not, you have a different screen that you're looking at.
Yeah, I apologize. I can see Commissioner Smith's, but go ahead, Commissioner Kemp.
Yeah, well, I have it on the other one. I've had it for a while, but I'll just a few things. I'll say I'm so pleased that SELF was able to present again to this commission and update them on this outstanding program that we offer here in Hillsborough County. And as you noted, the 2% default rate, but not only that, it's just everything that's done. It's a SELF bank that was built, I think, the last time, which was a long time ago, that they had some $7 million that is supported by churches, and sometimes there's been grants that have been made for them to support and continue this program with a repayment program with only a 2% default. But it's also one that provides to make sure that there are not the kind of contractors that are walking door to door ready to exploit people with the PACE program. And the problems exist with the PACE program and have been noted. There's only 3 states that allow for the PACE program, Florida being one of them. I have talked a lot about this in the past, so I won't go back on it except to say that the largest county in the nation, Los Angeles County, in 2020, which was one of the first counties to employ a PACE program under California law, discontinued the PACE program. And I just looked again at the National Consumer Law Center, which was very involved in trying to end the PACE program in Los Angeles as well as all over California. Because they said, the lawyer there was nationally, from the National Consumer Law Center, said that they can't provide sufficient protection for consumers with these PACE programs, and that the legal services in California have been overrun with complaints about PACE, including fraud, forgery, identity theft, price gouging, undisclosed cost and fees, and this is all quote, and unpermitted or uncompleted work. And it's just been, the Los Angeles set up a hotline number, that if anyone had a PACE loan, that that would have to be called and confirmed by the county to review and make sure that it was legitimately done and that the homeowner knew. But even that kind of protection with information wasn't enough to they just said the oversight was too great, and the opportunities for graft or for fraud were too great for them to do. So the county that first started it was the first one to end having that happen in 2020. And I'll just say, we look like I'm really proud that we have the SELF program, but we also have other programs that I'd like to see people familiar with and directed to with those. The PACE program is, I know that it puts forward as it's a sustainability and home improvement program, but really what it is just a financing program. They don't have contractors. They don't have staff except for financing. And I just think that that's important to remember. And the people that we heard from were people that were all in PACE financing programs now. One issue that I have, and I just did this just now on my phone to see if I were a homeowner in Hillsborough County and I needed help, I would, my first thing would be I would Google on my phone, my home computer, and say, hey, how could I have a problem, a homeowner issue with getting my house fixed. Are there any programs to help with that? And so I just went to the Hillsborough County website, and and I would have said this before if I had known it, but I'd like to see one thing some of the programs are in there, like SHIP, but it's called the Center for Women's Program, which is it doesn't quite, this is right what's on our site apparently today on my phone at least. And so there's that, and there's the CDC, and they have some individual numbers. The SELF program is not on there as a resource, and I don't know what else might be missing or not there. I'm also wondering about a number that just, because as we know, a lot of people aren't used to, has several numbers listed on there, but I would think like a general number through our consumer department maybe, or however, that we could have, everyone could call in and get that number, or have just a general number, and then they could be referred to the different programs, or maybe vetted, or some kind of central way that they could, I think it would be, helpful for them instead of going through the individual programs and numbers. So it's just something that, as I was sitting here this morning, I looked at, and I maybe would have raised it before, but I didn't really realize it. And I think it could be really helpful. And also, I don't know if, I'm not even sure in terms of business if some of these serve small business, but I think for the most part, for businesses, the PACE PACE program and loans that are made would not, any businesses have much more opportunity and resources, I think, to do a better loan in terms of the terms or the contractor or anything else. So I'll just put that out there, and we can see later about the program. I see Ms. Wise just shaking her head. I know she would think that that's a good idea too. So I'm glad we had the opportunity, maybe that I had the opportunity to just Google that and check it.
Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you. And first off, I would say I'm very impressed by all the many options for small loans and financial help for building improvements here in our county. And thank you, Commissioner White, for asking that to be incorporated in our report. And thank you, Commissioner Kemp, for Googling it for us. But there are, a lot of really good options in our county. We do a great job of helping people who need help. None of these programs add the excessive fees of PACE. None of them require the county to put a tax assessment on the property. None of them have the county putting a superior lien on the property with the threat of foreclosure backing up the collection of the payment. The original board action in 2020, August of 2020, was a motion to discontinue PACE in Hillsborough County. Was on a motion by Commissioner Miller, and the board moved unanimously to dissolve PACE, because at that time, we were informed, and I did a lot of research and found out about the scam artists taking advantage of those that are least able to afford it through the PACE system, and then having it billed as a county program, sold as a county. Hillsborough County is offering these loans, and then, oh, Hillsborough County may take your house away. And in fact, the last time this was revived, after we eliminated it and brought back, we had our county tax assessor come and testify to us and tell us that yes, it's been causing foreclosures in our county, and she, helped us understand all the reasons why. So it's a terrible. It's not something that we want our county to be involved in. We had letters in 2020, a very compelling letter from someone whose sister was victimized by the PACE programs and their vendors. And we've also had, over the course of having this hashed and rehashed, we've had public comment and letters from the Greater Tampa Realtors on the predatory practices and getting into the real details of why these superior liens are a problem for people who can least afford it, that they can't get subsequent loans on the property until this lien is paid off, and yet in some cases, you have to pay a 5% fee to pay off the loan early. I mean, it's just, and then our county has to tack on fees, service fees to process this, because it puts our county in the middle of these loans, like we're in charge of these, predatory, high interest rates loans, and we're in the position of collecting them, because at the end of the day, it's a tax assessment. So whether you're a home or a business, and of course we have had very, very few businesses ever apply. Nobody likes having their taxes raised, and this is actually raising your tax bill and tacking on additional fees. I mean, it's just the only business case that this would really suit the best would be a short-term flipper who is going to invest in some, buy some business and then make some improvements to the building, but have the county adding it on as taxes assessments, which then follow the property when it's, after it's flipped to the next guy. So the original flipper walks away with no consequences or loan payments, and leaves it stuck on the business behind, and it just drags down property values. It's not a good deal for the user. It's not something that our county should be engaged in. I've opposed these tax assessments for this, for residential, for commercial, as well as we finally got rid of the tax assessment for the water impact fees that was benefiting the developers in the same way that this would benefit a flipper. So I'm thankful for this extra opportunity to understand really that we do have wonderful alternatives for people who need help with a small business or home improvement loan, and glad that they don't have to resort to PACE financing through the county tax assessment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to remind the board there was no desire to discuss the residential PACE program in my request to bring this back. However, I'm hugely appreciative of the backup material and the presentation we've seen associated with the home repair programs that we do have that are going well. The only reason I wanted to bring this back is to show the differences between the residential and the commercial program, and to see if there were any opportunities, especially given that we have multifamily apartments in Hillsborough County that are in need of repairs, are causing a real problem, and whether or not this was an opportunity that we would consider for a commercial PACE program only. And that's what was on the agenda today, although we did add the other two items, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to recognize Commissioner Myers, but I would like for Mr. Yaki to address some of the things that he's heard that might imply that they are different or the same as they've been discussed regarding residential PACE. So I'll recognize you after I hear from Commissioner Myers.
And thank you, Madam Chair. You just addressed a point of if PACE can go directly to the landlords. I mean, if they want to do business, they can enter into an agreement with the landlords with the number of units. But I want to point out, in looking at the presentation, and thank you so much, PACE, you have 54% for women, 52% for seniors, and 49% for fixed income. That is an underserved community, and I do have concerns when we talk about our underserved communities, and we want to focus on underserved communities. And we know when this report came back to us earlier this year regarding the residential, we had concerns, and I still have concerns today on this program, and I will not be supporting this program. I just want to put it out there. There's still too many issues that remains with PACE. Even on a commercial, you're targeting minority businesses that can experience some hiccups in the long terms. And also, our tax collector said it best when she reported back to us, and I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Those are very good concerns. The numbers that you were referring to were the programs, the results under the SELF program, not the PACE program. But Mr. Yaki, could you clarify the differences between the residential and the commercial, and where it may be beneficial, even though it's not used very often? It may be beneficial to commercial lenders or commercial borrowers. So.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I certainly recognize and appreciate all the comments that were made about the concerns of residential PACE and predatory lending. It is something that the federal government is taking a look at, state governments are taking a look at. Commercial PACE has always been exempt from that. It's been exempt from that for a very simple reason. It is an arm's length deal. Lawyers are generally almost always involved, especially on new construction. This is something where, again, the issue of lender consent is really important because, as the chair said, when you're dealing with a commercial property that has lender consent, it's essentially being underwritten for 3 times. The first time was by the original lender. The second time is by the PACE capital provider, and then the third time is by the original lender again, trying to decide whether or not if the PACE financing, which will go in front of theirs, will impact their ability to receive their money and receive the value from their building. Commercial PACE improves the property value of buildings throughout the country. You are installing better energy efficiency, better water conservation. That is why states have been enacting commercial PACE throughout the country over the past 4 years. The states of Washington, 2 years, the states of Washington, Tennessee, Nevada, Hawaii have all enacted CPACE for one reason only. They understand that this is a way to help property owners achieve goals that they have. And resiliency has become even more important. Hurricane improvements, as you know, are eligible under the Florida statute. And at some point, we would hope that it would join the rest of the country and just overall do resiliency, because we see that if you're vulnerable to flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, etc., being able to finance that additional cost through CPACE is important. It's also important to know that we don't use contractors. Again, you have property owners, developers who are really putting together this project, whether it's retrofitting a building or whether it's building a new building. They're using their people. We're just simply a form of financing that comes in and helps them achieve the goals of the statute in terms of energy and water conservation. We don't pick them, the contractors. We don't tell them what to do. We're not involved in that. It's very different from the way residential operates. And again, if you want a program that has the backstop against a small business going underwater, the best way to do it is to make sure that you have lender consent, because 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 10, they'll have a mortgage on their building already. And that mortgagee will have the ability, for whatever reason, not just financial, whatever reason, to say no, and we can't do it. And that's probably one of the reasons why you haven't seen that much in the Tampa area prior to the time you close it, because lender consent is a very big break on how much you can actually do. Notwithstanding, I will say this: in the past 2 years, during the time you were about to close your program and thereafter, there's been a lot of interest from hotel owners, from multifamily developers and others to utilize CPACE in the Hillsborough area. My company and other companies I know have at least 2 to 3 potential projects available. Now, again, it all depends on whether the ultimate lender will say yes or no, but the ability to authorize it here and let us go forward and try and make these happen, it doesn't, again, let me just say this: there have been 0 foreclosures on commercial PACE across the country, over 2,000 projects in 31 states across the country. We understand the concerns that people have. I certainly understand them, having been in local government before, but commercial PACE, properly done, can be very successful in Hillsborough. And I can say for a fact, there are a number of property owners, I know, contacted some of you already, to say they would like to see this go forward. This is not predatory. It's not subject to any federal regulatory proceeding. We don't send out our contractors. This is an arm's length commercial deal with lawyers, accountants, and everyone else, title companies that drive you all crazy. All of us crazy when we try and complete a transaction that are part of this. And again, unless the lenders or lenders say yes, we don't go forward.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any other board questions? Comments? Well, I realize there is a difference, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to only bring that topic back. I wasn't interested in actually addressing the residential end. And I do see that there is an opportunity to assist businesses in financing. And given the differences between the residential and the commercial PACE program, the one thing that I did want to assure that if we considered it again, that it include the protections that was described in earlier about being approved and assess the properties under the FRED and the FGFA. Is that's the term? Those provisions to assure that, again, the properties are assessed properly, and as well as the due diligence is there. Given that there is a consent agreement between the property owner and the mortgage holder for moving that loan forward. Previous reports that we've gotten from our tax collector, I believe, that was related to residential, and I'm not sure that we've got the details. Actually, Commissioner Smith, you brought up the tax collector's report. Did that also apply to commercial in your either recollection or research? I didn't have that information.
The largest point was that people could get foreclosed on, because that's how this works. That's the only way this works, is for the county to hold a superior lien and for the payments to be collected via tax assessment that the county collects. So, of course, our major concern was people being thrown out of their homes onto the street. But the same thing applies to commercial loans if it's collected in this way, as a tax assessment with the additional fees, with the county threat of foreclosure being the collection mechanism.
Okay, that's a very good point. Mr. Yaki, can you address that question?
Sure. One of the things that I would ask, that we often ask all the tax collectors is, what is the rate of commercial foreclosure in your area? And it's always going to be extremely, extremely low compared to residential. And in a lot of counties, it's almost non-existent for one very simple reason. That is the commercial person who owns the paper on the property almost always steps in to cure it, to pay it off so it doesn't go to foreclosure. And commercial pays functions very much the same way. And one of the reasons why lenders consent to it is because, like I said, unlike a residential mortgage or a lot of commercial mortgages, if you miss a payment, the entire amount does not come due and forward. It's only that year's collection. So you'll often have, as with anything, with delinquent property taxes or what have you, the commercial lenders will come in and cure that to keep the property because they don't want a foreclosure. They don't want to see it sold because they'll lose their entire investment in the property. So that is why there are no foreclosures across the country, despite the terrible time that we had after COVID hit and the COVID recession. You've not had any uptick at all of commercial pace foreclosures in the country.
Okay, very good, very good. I see a staff member has their hand up, and I can't tell who that is. With a question, a member of our staff. Emerald Parker.
Emerald, can you hear us? It shows that you're unmuted,
Yes.
but your mic's
Yes.
not. There you go.
This is Emerald. I'm representing Hillsborough County Tax Collector's Office.
Excellent.
So if it's a business and it's a tangible tax, they don't go to foreclosure. It goes to a warrant hearing. So each year is independent. So in that case, the taxes do become delinquent. And in that particular case, I just wanted to address, because Mr. Yaki mentioned about the taxes, they are independent. So I just wanted to address that. It doesn't go get foreclosed on, it just has to go to warrant hearing.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that input. That was very helpful. Okay, thank you. I think that Claire, part of the reason why I wanted to bring it back is I knew that this was very different than the residential situation. It's a very different tool when it comes to commercial. And it is a lending vehicle, just as we've done with other programs that can help a business owner manage the cost of maintaining their building and keeping it safe and becoming more energy efficient, whether that be air conditioning units or roofs or any of the improvements that are necessary to maintain a building. And that becomes really important when it comes to multifamily housing. And those projects that I want to make sure stay safe so that we have the ability to retain the units that we need in Hillsborough County and not have them go into a situation where they go into decline and we're offering substandard housing for those that want to live here. We have several properties in the area that are at that stage where financing could become an opportunity. So with that, I'm going to move that we consider bringing back, ask staff to bring back and work with the PACE program to see if it's possible to adopt a commercial PACE program that has zero administrative burden using FRED and FGFA, that would require review, approval, and assessment of to the properties. Hearing that we recognize that that would not be something that would actually result in foreclosure should the owner actually miss payment for consideration at a future date.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor by our chair, Commissioner Overman, passing the gavel to me.
Thank you.
Let's see if we have a second. Checking for a second. Motion dies for lack of a second. Commissioner Overman, the gavel goes back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so I hear the board and just wanted to make sure that we understood the differences in the program. I appreciate everyone's time. Mr. Strom, that was very helpful to bring the list of all the housing services. I think the other thing that I would like to ask staff to do is to, and I don't know if this requires a motion, but the list that Commissioner White asked for, that provides a long list of the various different programs we have for homeowners to tap into the various different resources available to help maintain their properties, some of which is federally and some of it is locally funded, be very clearly listed on our website so that each of the wonderful programs and partners that we have in the area of housing, home repair, and the local resources, both the county and the federal levels, are listed where residents can actually find it and make sure it's as comprehensive as this list. I will suggest to you it's the first time I've seen a list where it's all on there, and it's very good. So thank you very much. We're putting a lot of effort there, and I'm glad to see that we have that information available to our residents. So we'll work with communications to see if they can get that on there.
Commissioner, we'll continue to work with communications to make sure that information gets to our public.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so very much. Yes, and seeing no other items on this issue, we can move on to the next item, which is D1. Ms. Wise?
Yes, my apologies. The next item is D1. This is a public hearing to consider enactment of an ordinance relating to the termination of residential leases and requiring notice for certain residential rent increases. Nancy Takamori is here for this item, and this is a public hearing, and there are several who are signed up to speak.
Excellent, thank you. Ms. Takamori, you're recognized.
Good morning. Nancy Takamori, County Attorney's Office. This is a public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance pertaining to certain notice provisions relating to residential tenancies in unincorporated Hillsborough County. The proposed ordinance does two things. First, for termination of residential tenancies without a specific duration, it requires a notification period of 30 days where rent is payable monthly and 60 days where rent is payable in periods longer than monthly. And the second thing that this proposed ordinance does is require that for residential rent increases of more than 5%, where there is a lease for a specific term, the landlord must provide the tenant with at least 60 days written notice. For your information, the City of Tampa adopted a very similar ordinance in May of this year. The effective date of this proposed ordinance is August 8th. However, there's a built-in grace period where no penalties will be assessed for conduct occurring prior to October 1st. Again, this is a public hearing. It has been properly noticed, and I am available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Get my screen back on. My apologies. As we know, we have had a real issue associated with housing and availability of housing. And it is critically important that individuals have enough time to adjust to their circumstance, whether that be the landlord needing to raise or feeling the need to raise their rent, or the tenant feeling the need to possibly have to make a decision that they can't afford the rent that they have right then, and may need to move. But either way, given that we have such a very low inventory of housing available for relocation to make choices on, having the ability to address time is of value. I met with United Way yesterday, and they had indicated that the case management they provide to all of our nonprofits that are in the area of housing assistance and housing support would truly appreciate having a little more time. Frequently, our tenants that are found in a situation where they are not going to have their rent renewed or their lease renewed, or that their rent is going to increase to a level that is unaffordable for them. They have very limited time to make the decision or to find another place to live. Under the circumstances, it is becoming incredibly difficult for people to find a place. And then ultimately, we end up with families that are potentially homeless for a period of time. That then has a direct impact on children and their ability to go to school, learn, and stay healthy. So giving residents a little more time, giving landlords the ability to provide notice so that they can make the choices that they make. These provisions does provide for a notification of 30 days where the leases were being paid monthly. So it technically will encourage longer term leases. 60 days for leases that are payable that are longer than monthly. So if you've got a 3-month or 6-month or an annual lease, it does require 60 days. And it also requires an increase of the rent if it's a notice if the rent's going to be greater than 5%. All of these items give our industry an opportunity, our rental industry and our tenant families, an opportunity to make some adjustments as needed. I wish it were able to be longer, but that's what we found within the law that we could provide. So I don't see any hand raised from the board.
Madam Chair, we have
Point of
public
order.
comments.
Yes, we have public hearing.
That's exactly right. So I'll open the public hearing and open it up for comment. The first person to sign up to speak is Robin Lockett.
Good morning. This is different, but good morning. My name is Robin Lockett. I'm with Florida Rising. First, I'd like to thank Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Cohen, and Commissioner Overman for meeting with Florida Rising. We sent letters out to all the all the commissioners, wrong place, and received feedback, and we had a thorough conversation in regards to what the letters were pertaining to. We will be reaching out again, so we look forward to speaking with everybody. I am here to speak on D1, item D1. I am in full support of it. I think anything that can be done to help tenants in this day and age is very important. I do think that it can go further. I think that 60 days is the talking point of what everybody is doing right now and creating. I think 120 days, because when you're in this situation, your rent is being increased and you still have to pay the current rent. You have to do the filing, pay for application fees. So it's everything that you're dealing with right now on top of you looking for somewhere else to live. And with the market the way it is, there's nothing out there. So a person would, if the rent increases 5%, it would give them an opportunity, over 5%, I'm sorry, it would provide them an opportunity to be able to, get situated and look for somewhere else, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. So I do agree with it. I think the fine enforcement, I think $500 is too little. I think the fine should be a stiffer fine to make a landlord or whoever think twice about doing this or going against the ordinance that you create. So I think you have an opportunity to really put a stern fine in there if it is, if they do go against it. We are pushing, because of the housing crisis, we are pushing rent stabilization. We have been down to City Council pushing it, putting it on the ballot. As everybody knows, they have done it. So we're in the process of getting the wording together. In this date and time, it's a year. In this date and time, we're fighting against greed. In this date and time, when you're fighting against greed, there has to be some type of regulations put in place to stop it, because people continue to go on with it. So we appreciate all the money that's going towards rental assistance, but we're just fueling the landlords and the developers, and they continue to raise it. So I look forward again, look forward again to speaking with everyone, having a thorough conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lockett. I also have Chloe Coney.
Good morning, County Commissioners. I'm Chloe Coney, a woman that wears many hats. First, I've been raised here in Tampa all of my life, and I think most of you know that working 50 years, I can't retire. The 30 years has been in housing and economic development, so I'm a seasoned practitioner, okay? As Robin Lockett liked to say, and I've been working with her organization and going down to City Council too, she likes to say that there's many pieces to the puzzle. And if we're going to do a comprehensive housing project, we really got to put all these pieces together. I know, County Commissioners, that all of you hear the cries of the people. I get the calls too. And we have nowhere to refer people for affordable housing. So we know we're in a housing crisis. I invited my mentor, Steve Glaudet, in January when we did a Legacy of the Wall. He is president of Coalition of Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development in Washington, D.C. His organization consists of over 80 nonprofits and 40 for-profit, mission-driven organizations. And they have a $150 million housing trust fund to help address their housing needs. First, I want to thank the county commissioners for creating our housing trust fund. And I would like to say that one day maybe we can have $150 million in our trust fund, but thank you for doing that. But I really want us to look at preservation, because we have many apartments now that after the tax credits of 30 or 40 years are over, we need to be able to preserve those as affordable. And one thing they did in DC, they allowed to do co-op or tenants to purchase those apartments to keep it affordable. Again, I want to thank you, County Commissioners, for your awesome housing director, Cheryl Howard. I know you have been allowing nonprofits to purchase some of the apartments that will keep it affordable. So please keep preservation on your agenda. And I'm currently working on housing development projects because workforce and housing go hand in hand. I'm asking that we continue to put more money into training for workforce, because my greatest concern is when the federal or you or the city or the county rent assistance money is no longer there. If we have not equipped the people with high-paying jobs, they will not be able to afford the rent. We will truly be in an emergency. So I want to put that at the forefront. We need to make sure that we get our residents involved. So thank y'all so much for allowing me to come here to talk. Anytime you need my help, please call me. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Coney. I don't have any other on the list, the last list I received. Are there any other persons that wish to speak during this public hearing? I'm not seeing any other lists or any other names being mentioned, so I'll move on and we'll close the public hearing and open it up for discussion. Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I want to thank Ms. Lockett of Florida Rising and Chloe Coney of the CDC and the Urban Enterprise Center for coming down today and speaking. We all recognize that you all are in the trenches, actually working to provide help to our citizens who are most in need of help. And I welcome your participation in, and I know we all do, and your involvement and engagement in helping to find solutions and inform us of what you're seeing and out in the community. We all know rising rents and housing costs have become a crisis, and a crisis on top of a crisis in our community. And one major driver of this crisis, of course, is the large corporate investors that are even from out of town, even from out of state, even from out of the country, Canadian company that is buying up property and renting them out absentee even, and monopolizing housing costs and rising rents with no care. So I'm hoping that as we continue working on this, we can look to targeting that piece of the housing market. We are limited by the state in what we can do in this, but the ordinance in front of us today, with a lot of work by our county attorneys, is a really good first step. And it helps us start with things that our county attorneys have thoroughly vetted, that will not invite a challenge, and get things in place immediately to provide real help. But I look forward to continuing to work to see whether we can incorporate, some of the other suggestions we heard today, and even look further into other help that we can provide to people struggling with their housing costs. I'm going to suggest an amendment to the ordinance that's in front of us today. And so I think what I'll do is try to make a motion to pass the ordinance with this amendment and see together and see, because it's a very small amendment that I worked hard on with the county attorney's office really worked hard with me on this idea. And it's just one suggestion that could bolster the protections in this ordinance that the ordinance provides to tenants. And I've, been advised that it's just such a minor change that it wouldn't require renoticing the ordinance. So, as you know, the ordinance requires a 60-day notice of rent increases of more than 5%. But in addition to base rent increases, tenants may face increases in the fees and costs that they are required to pay, such as pet fees, parking fees, even laundry fees, all kinds of fees that are piled on in addition to the basic rent. And increasing these fees can be quite substantial, so that when the tenant is notified that, okay, the rent is going up, it would be good if they also were notified of any of these fee increases as well that might impact their whole overall decision of whether they can afford the 5% or up to the 5% rent increase, even if, say, their pet fee is going up from $100 to $200, or any of the other fees are increased. So when at the time that they're renewing the lease. So I suggest a minor amendment to do that. Some of the rental complexes have several additional fees. So specifically, I would propose passing this ordinance with this amendment at the end of line 99 to just add the following sentence. The written notice shall include notice of all fees and costs to be paid by the tenant during the new rental term. So that's my motion for this.
Second.
Pass this with that amendment.
I have a motion and a second. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I just wanted to also say thank you to the speakers who came forward. I know that both of you advocate and do hard work in the community, and we certainly have a crisis at this time. Most of the nation seems to be having the same issues we do, but we have them multiplied, I think, by the growth that we continually have here, as well as the speculation, as Commissioner Smith said, by these corporations and entities that are coming into Hillsborough County and taking up single-family homes. I think more than 10,000 properties, as I understand, have now been bought by these commercial entities, and making it so that new homeowners can't really compete. They get the property before it's even put for sale and can pay cash, and then collect what they may as rent on this property, driving up everything. So the speculation here is on top of everything else we might suffer from. I appreciate the work, and it was a lot of work on the part of the county attorney's office. I know that the state has preempted so much of anything that we could possibly do. We were really struggling to try to find what we could do. So I'm pleased to put this forward. I just, as well as Commissioner Smith's well-considered amendment, I would like to just ask Ms. Takamori from the county attorney's office. I know Ms. Lockett mentioned 60 days wasn't quite enough notice because, whether they have that or longer, I'm not sure if under the circumstances people can find other places. But perhaps I'm just wondering if, maybe 90 days, and if you would advise that would be something that we could do, or if it might violate any of, any state laws or any other considerations that we should have if we were to maybe make it 90 days instead of 60.
Thank you, Commissioner. Nancy Takamori, County Attorney's Office. Florida law does not specifically speak to notice of rent increases. However, state law does say that a residential lease for a specific term cannot require either a landlord or a tenant to give more than 60 days notice of intent not to renew a lease. And typically when you're discussing lease renewal, you're talking about what the new rent would be. So I would suggest that probably the 60-day notice of rent increase in the draft ordinance is the longest that you'd want to go to avoid any conflict with state law. Although there's nothing directly on point, it's kind of implied in the existing statutory structure.
Thank you. I just wanted to see if there were barriers. It sounds like there is a consideration to be made here. And I know that the county attorney's office looked this over for every possibility that we could possibly have to aid our residents here in Hillsborough County and do the best we could by them. So I'll support the amendment by Commissioner Smith and support the ordinance as it will provide some relief. And we can, as Commissioner Smith said, keep looking at it and keep seeing what other opportunities we may have.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. Commissioner Myers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I do agree with the comments made by Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Kemp. I would just like to ask our county administrator, once we take our vote, can we have a press release to go out today, something posted on the website about the action taken today, and also if our affordable housing chair and can send something out to the landlords so everyone would sort of get the message right away of this change that hopefully it's a favorable vote today.
Thank you. We have a whole campaign planned to get this word out, because we want the words to get out to the landlords as well as to the tenants that this is going to be available. So we have part of it is going to be social media, part of it is going to be news releases and various newsroom stories. I think you're aware, maybe those of you who are on the HART board too, that the Tenant Bill of Rights is part of what's going to be on the HART buses and part of the message, and also information available. So we plan to get the word out in various ways.
Like your plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. And I, as the chair of Affordable Housing, am more than willing to send.
Madam Chair, I have my hand raised. I'm not sure why you're not able to see that.
It, but please go ahead.
Actually, I was going to ask if I could be recognized after we dispose of the motion rather than before.
Oh, okay, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. I don't see your hand, though. I don't know what's going on, but I appreciate it, and I will call you.
You know what? We have different. We have a different. We have multiple systems at work here. Sorry about that.
Now your hand's up.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, great. So I have hands up for Commissioner Kemp, Commissioner Myers, and Commissioner Cohen. Are they all related to this item before I close up and ask for a vote? Okay, I'm going to assume we've all had our say. I just want to thank County Attorney Takamori. This is great work. Thank you very, very, very much. I know you did yeoman's work on this one, and to make sure that we could get this in and do it rather quickly. I do look forward to getting this out to the public as quickly as possible, assuming this passes, to make sure that landlords and tenants are both aware of it. And I do like the idea of partnering it with our Tenant Bill of Rights to make sure that everyone knows. Our goal here is to make sure that we stabilize a community that's in crisis right now, and do what we can as a community, both tenants and landlords, to assure that we're, being the best county in the state of Florida to live in. We've got a lot of good things happening, but this is an area that we must address. And part of the reason why it's so urgent to do it right now is that we have historically, and we've done a wonderful job of partnering with our nonprofits at getting emergency rental assistance dollars out there, as well as home stabilization, case management support to help people get relocated when they've gotten a very short notice that rents were going to change or that they were not going to be renewed. Those funds are not unlimited. And it's very likely that next spring we will find ourselves in a much different situation we are now about being able to help people. And so having the ability to sort of level that playing field and make sure that everybody has adequate time to adjust to the market pressures we see is important. Something else that has been observed of late, I saw a local economist or an economist speak regarding our local markets, addressing the issue of institutional owned properties and those institutional property owners that are coming in and buying properties. When the Fed raised the interest rates, Wall Street pays very close attention to that. And the large companies that are coming in and buying real estate are using that based on borrowed dollars, have slowed their interest in purchasing real estate. Hopefully that will impact positively our ability to allow homeowners in Hillsborough County to acquire the homes that are for sale, those that are new properties that are being built. But what we're seeing is that there is very limited existing properties that are going onto the market because interest rates have gotten so high and property values have gotten so high. So existing homeowners that are selling their homes are not really ready to do so because prices are at the level. This will help achieve help with some, not only improving our tenants' situation for rental properties, but could potentially pay some dividends on being able to have some properties then move to home ownership, whereas they're in a rental situation at the moment. So I'm looking forward to seeing action here. With that, I see Commissioner Myers' hands up and Commissioner Cohen's hands up. Did you want to speak before we dispose of this motion? And it's
no,
amendment.
Absolutely not. Let me take my hand down. Thank you.
And I'd like to speak after. Thanks.
Okay, great. So with that, we'll entertain the motion and take a vote with the ordinance as it stands with the amendments that have been proposed by Commissioner Smith. Please take a roll call vote.
Overman,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
White. Commissioner White? All right, thank you. Motion carried 6-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Board. I truly appreciate this. It's an important process for us to move that forward. Commissioner Cohen, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I will be brief. Ms. Lockett earlier mentioned the meetings that she had with some of us, and during the meeting that I had with Florida Rising, or it was actually after the meeting, she sent me some information with a lot of other ideas about things that we could do to ameliorate some of the problems that are facing renters in our community. And as Commissioner Kemp said and alluded to earlier, we really are so constrained by preemption that in a lot of these areas, it's very, very difficult for us to take action. But one of the things that Florida Rising suggested was establishing an Office of Tenant Advocacy. And what was interesting about the timing of our meeting was that it was within a day or two of Cheryl Howell's presentation to us and the announcement of her new position as an assistant county administrator for equity and access. And it occurred to me that an Office of Tenant Advocacy would be an excellent component of that equity office, and that perhaps this is something that we can look at. I know that you're looking at Madam Administrator, at what functions that office is going to provide, and it seems to me this type of a program would be really right in their wheelhouse. I know that this suggestion is being made after you've presented your recommended budget for next year, but I still think it's worth considering how we can integrate that into that office's functions, because that is something that we could do that I think the state does not have any control over. And that's all.
Excellent. Excellent recommendation. I'm very glad you brought that up. Ms. Wise, did you have any comments or that you'd like to respond to?
No, we will consider that.
Okay, great. Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Just to say, I think that's an excellent idea, and I would support that completely. I see also here, Commissioner Overman, a lot of head nodding that you're unable to see.
Thank you.
That's something that I think we'll be able to incorporate.
I truly appreciate that. I do agree that the direction we've been going and getting closer to that, incorporating elements of that will be incredibly valuable in coordinating the housing services and the resources to stabilize our housing. Commissioner Myers, your hand's up. Okay, okay, excellent. All right, with that, do we need a motion to that effect, or is that just a request for staff to bring back a report on how that can be incorporated into?
I think we could just put it down as a future item, and I'm sure that the administrator will get back to us on it.
Okay, perfect. All right, Ms. Wise.
And we are on future discussion items now.
Oh, that was timely. I don't see any hands raised. Does anyone like to offer some suggestions or questions? I'm not hearing any. So with that, I'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for today's support. I appreciate it.